Hello and welcome to the 4Corners podcast. I'm Brad, joined by Matt. Shad should be popping in later, so we're gonna do the
Wait,
matches a little later because what we're doing this week is they're kind of too. I would say I don't want to say infamous because that's bad. They're kind of famous matches. They get talked about a decent amount. You hear about them. This is Ric Flair and Arn Anderson going long with like I don't they are job guys, but they're probably more talented than like what you would think of as a job guy. So it's like Ric Flair going 15 minutes with George South, and then Arn going about 7 minutes with Mike Jackson.
to the extent that I guess you could say Jim Crockett Promotions and did like jobbers to the stars, they're kind of almost more like jobbers to the stars. They're guys that like on like a local level, like and like probably like the Southern Indies, whatever, like they probably would be like name guys, like they would have been like
I don't know
pushed
about
in.
George South. I know Mike Jackson, like in Alabama, has quite a history, and like in Continental
Yeah.
and Southeastern Championship Wrestling, he had some success, and he
George
was
South,
also. It's funny if you
I
watch
had, God, sorry.
like the Continental stuff. Mike Jackson is often the ring announcer.
Mm. I was gonna say I'd have to look up George South, but I mean he's a name that I've heard for like forever, so I feel like he probably did something somewhere, like more
He
than
was
just like he
involved in
was a
that
job guy.
Carolina Wrestling Federation. He got some wins there, but like I don't think he ever really got like a push anywhere. He might have been like an indie guy because some of their jobbers did eventually like get um some pushes. But like if you go back to that era too, like Crockett used like more indie guys, so their jobbers tended to be better than like WWE jobbers, who tend to be just like absolutely bottom of the barrel, like talent wise. You might get a couple of decent guys, but not like Jim Crockett Promotions. Like you had them, you had Jim and Mac Jeffers that eventually became the Mod Squad. I think in like '86 or '87. Rocky King, you had Sam Houston was kind of a job guy to start with, and they pushed him a little bit. Like Randy Barber, Gene
Yeah,
Ligon.
Rocky King was popped up a lot on that Jim Crockett
Oh,
Promotion
Italian
stuff.
Stallion was on there too.
Oh yeah,
And then like Denny Brown was like the junior champion, and he would do jobs unless it was like another junior. But they
yeah.
tended to do that with juniors back in the day. So, but they're interesting little matches, and I found an article that at least gave the background to like the Flair and George South match, and it was pretty much done out of spite because he got in an argument with Dusty Rhodes, I guess, in front of everyone that day, and he wasn't supposed to wrestle. And so Dusty made him wrestle. So he was like, I want George South. And so then he decided if he was going to wrestle, he was going to wrestle. And I mean, I think I think I'd seen it before, but it had been a long time. And I watched it this time and I was like, this is really like way better than this should ever have been.
They were both actually really really entertaining.
Yeah. Because Flair put a lot of effort into that one. But we will get to that. We're going to give it probably a little time to see if Shad pops on to see if he has anything to say about it. Uh, but we have had some bits and pieces of news. Like there was Slammiversary this week, which seemed like it was well received. I don't know how many
Wait, say that
people
again?
watched it. Slammiversary was this weekend, and it seemed like it was their first show that kind of was well received.
Allegedly, but it got absolutely like no
No
hype
track. Well,
whatsoever.
it
The
was
only
it was a bad weekend to do it.
it was very bad. But beyond that, I think people noted that was Santana the champion?
Yeah,
Like,
he
because I think that I guess he must have been because I think the big news, which is that the main event, like he lost to Nick Nemeth,
yeah, so he's probably out the
and
door.
well, the news came out today that he's I guess his contract isn't done necessarily in the sense that I think it's he may have some days left on it, but not like he's he's signed through the end of the year.
Yeah.
I think it's like it's
Well,
expiring
if I remember
any day
last
now,
year, if I remember
but
last
he's
year, his
gone.
contract, that was their excuse, was his contract was coming up. So I think July is it's coming up.
Yeah, he it might run into July at some point, but he's already said like he's done. Again,
Yeah.
they were announcing like he's done, and he had been the rumor we talked about on the show before. The rumor had been that he was going to go to the WWE.
Yeah.
I don't
And
even know. I don't even know if Tony Khan would be like offering him anything. I
I think
think
the problem is, I think the problem is like his best. We talked about this on another show. I think he works better in a more with a smaller roster in a more intimate setting because that's where he really like connects with people and gets that deeper level of connection. But I think in like AEW and WWE, he's going to get lost in that like ocean of just a huge roster and it's not going to work as well. And I could see wanting to go to WWE over AEW just because like he probably knows what he's going to get in AEW. And I think WWE, I think he kind of knows, but might as well give it a shot because he did bet on himself and he did pretty well with TNA.
yeah, I if he does go to WWE, like they'll probably stick him in NXT.
Which
He
I think
actually
would
would
be a
do well
mistake.
there. Well, I think he would do well there. I mean, I get what you're saying, but he probably at least would have a chance to shine there for a bit, and he would instantly come in as one of the better workers. Like the male side on NXT is
Is
bad.
It's dire would be my word for it.
It's very bad, and it's not as if like the women's side is better. Like they have some good workers there on the women's side, like Kendall Gray, but that's like roll my eyes because there's a lot of discourse about her. But they're also very very rehearsed there. So I don't think the women's side. I don't think any of the wrestling in NXT is good right now,
I
but
would say
it's
the
better than
women's
the men's
side is
side.
better because like I think Kendall Gray is overhyped, but if you were like pluck talents out that you actually think you could do something with, she would probably be the first person in NXT that I'd be like, I want her because I think she's got something.
There's a couple people there that they could probably do something with and have some talent.
I'd
Like it's
take
very
Hank and
rehearsed.
Tank. I think that's the only two male wrestlers I even give a rat's ass about there.
Yeah, I mean they have some people obviously like Evil from Japan
Who's
from
like a
New Japan.
jobber.
Yeah, but I mean he at least is like he's a talented worker. He's not necessarily everyone's cup of tea, not necessarily my cup of tea, but
Yeah,
he's at
but
least a
they've
good,
got a
talented worker.
37-year-old man in NXT learning how to wrestle. I just don't get it.
I see. It's gone so far from what it used to be. Like people like are wet on like the black and gold era, and they want to give Triple H all the credit for that, which we talked about. Like he wasn't even the one really booking this shit, but to the extent that he was booking it, it's like it was the easiest thing in the world to take like a whole list of talent that you plucked from Ring of Honor or PWG or from like Japan
Yeah.
and go to them and be like, hey, like throw some names in a hat, pull out one. It's like, oh, Sami Zayn, you're gonna feud with Pac, and it's like you got like a handful of like world class talent that have already probably faced each other in the Indies or one of those promotions I
Yeah.
listed. And then you're just putting them together, and it's like, oh, this is awesome. It's like, yeah, because the workers are like top level, and they've already faced each other. They know each other, so you just do that whole thing. But it was back in the day. It's like, oh, you're here, you're establishing you're a new character, more the character, versus like we're teaching you how to work or how to work in front of a camera and a TV crowd. Like, not really. These guys are like high level. Like they can figure that out to the extent
Yeah.
that they don't
They
already
have to
know.
learn how to
But it,
most of them just have to learn how to deal with the hard cam.
yeah, and it was also like more to get their character over. Oh, like let's introduce them to
Yeah.
the WWE universe and have an awesome feud, and but be there like a year, and then it's
Yeah,
like, oh, we're moving
that's
to the
kind of
main
what it was at
roster.
first. Like it'd be like, "Oh,
Yeah, and
Kevin
then
Owens, we're going to help you lose weight and stuff and then you'll go up in a year."
yeah, and then it became where it was an official third brand, and then of course like NXT
And then you
debuted, they
you had
had
people
started
like
feud like
Adam Cole there for 5 years and like
yeah,
people
it started to be like, well, we have this third brand, and we're using the third brand to like compete against AEW. So it's like, well, now you have to have guys stick around. Not even so much like, oh, we're introducing them. It's like you have to stick around. Like Adam Cole was like the worst, and the Undisputed Era. That was the worst offense because it's like you kept him for like 4 or 5 years. it shouldn't have been like, oh, War Games is their match. It's like, why is it their match? Because it's like, well, because they did it 4 or 5 years in a row
Because
because
they're
they
the
were in
heel
NXT
stable
for
every
four or
year.
five years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, no, they shouldn't have been in there, but they've kept people in NXT because it's like, well, it's an established third brand, you have to have stars for the brand. And it's like, yeah, if you're gonna actually do it that way, but that's not the way it was done
Yeah, but
originally.
it doesn't the problem I have with it though is like no one really watches it. It doesn't draw.
Mhm.
Like it was hot there for like a second, like when Becky Lynch came down and worked with them a little bit, and that kind of carried on for a bit, but it's already down to like it's getting 500,000 a lot of weeks on CW.
Yeah,
So
well,
like
in this,
that little hot spurt they had's completely dead, and it's back. I would argue that it's actually worse like than it was because they're on broadcast TV and they're getting what they were getting on USA. And
and people,
they also have Collision starting to push on them a lot of weeks because Collision is like doubled their viewership this year.
oh, look, you can say this more about Dynamite. I think I even, well, I think it was more about Dynamite than Collision, but other people have said this, and Dave Meltzer's kind of weighed in on it. He weighed in on it when I actually made a comment on our Twitter about the Dynamite ratings being higher than Raw
Hmm.
on a weekly basis. That he actually was like, not every week, but some weeks, yes. And people like, not specific about that comment, whatever he talks about, and he has it. He started talking a little about it more. I've been beating this drum now for probably like a year because going back to when it debuted on Netflix, the numbers were like at a level and they've been going down and down and down and down. The point where I've made the point, because if you study it and Meltzer talks about it, if you look at the ratings, you can make the argument with some validity that if you read between the lines and you actually see what data is being put out there, that live and same day, I'm using that specifically because I'm not counting like, well, over the course of a week. Because if you do that, you also got to do what other companies like AEW. It's like I watch AEW chronically like 5, 6 weeks after the fact.
Well,
I'm not watching it
and the thing
live or
is
same
though,
day
we've talked about that
or the same
too.
week.
Is watch time's important because like let's say AEW had like a segment or a match I wanted to go back and watch, and then maybe we decide to talk about it on the show, and I go back and watch it a third time. Well, I just did 3 views on
Yeah,
that, but
yeah.
like I didn't watch it 3 times, so that is tricky. But I think the thing for me with that is even if it's only like happening like here and there that Dynamite's beating Raw, that should not happen.
It shouldn't happen,
Never should a
but
7-year-old company be
no,
challenging.
but it probably is because live and same day Raw is pulling numbers that Dynamite. I'm not gonna say Dynamite flat out on cable is doing it, but once you factor in Max, which again people love people love the double
Dynamite's in
standard, right?
shooting distance of what their live and same day is by only a couple
People
hundred. Because what?
people love the people love the double standard. They want to count every single person in those Raw streaming numbers,
Mm-hmm.
but they want to act as if absolutely zero people watch Dynamite on HBO Max streaming. Like, oh, those people don't exist. It's all mythical. It's like, no, man, Meltzer has dated. It's like he was told this, and he's from things he's seen.
And
It seems to
I
be like they get a good chunk. How many, the percentage, like that can vary,
and we were
but they're
wrong
getting
on
a
we
lot.
were wrong, especially me. I was wrong because I didn't think they had a significant max viewership. I thought like if they were getting 100,000 when it started, I said I think they'd be doing good, and then they started dropping numbers, and it was like 40 to 60% of the audience that gets on cable they get on Max, and I imagine that might be different now, but there's weeks where they're getting like 400, 500,000 viewers on Max, and I was shocked when they started dropping
Yeah,
those
but
numbers,
add the math. Like if Dynamite gets 700,000
which
and
is
they're
not
pulling,
far off from Raw, which is like because like Raw doesn't even
oh,
live and same day for Raw, I think from what I've seen doesn't they don't break a
I've
million some weeks.
I've seen a lot of figures recently where it's like 800 to 900,000. So do the math. Like if Dynamite gets 700,000 on cable and they're pulling in 40 to 50% of that, then they're pulling in like a million 1 million is bigger than 800, 900,000. Like their flagship show, Raw, some weeks they are likely doing better than that live and same day. Now, I bring all that up just to say, like, there has been some Collision numbers recently that are insane. Now, granted, they had like big lead-ins, like a NBA final game or something like that. But there's been some numbers where it's like it's pulling 500,000.
But
Like
that's been
viewers.
going back to like March that they've been getting those big numbers though.
It's been trending up, but
And I
and I
haven't.
think some of the ratings, it's like when they move it to Thursdays, it's like, oh, it shouldn't do well. Then it's like it pulls like 400,000 or
Yeah, and I
500,000.
don't get that because like I was like cuz I don't I just I can't watch both shows, so I just picked Dynamite and I honestly
Yeah,
I think Collision's skippable more often than not.
sometimes. Sometimes it
Yeah.
has like some really really good stuff.
Yeah, but because I was looking at like the results and stuff, and I was trying to figure like why is this doing so well? Because this is really like out of the ordinary, and I have not been able to figure it out because I thought maybe like they were just putting like insane matches on every week, and they were with Darby. Like there were some
Mhm.
good
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
collision matches, but it was up before that, and I haven't been able to figure it out. They're just up in that regard.
But think about it. Let's say Collision gets 500,000, and again, let's go with the 40% number from HBO Max. Like pulling that 40% of 500,000 is 200,000. 500,000 plus 200,000. 7,000 people watch this random Collision. Maybe someone's at random. Maybe they like, we're going to have a big match, like one of the Darby Idol Challenge matches. 700,000. If Raw that week pulled like 800, 900,000, it's like you have the B show of AEW like nipping at your heels. A show that half the time is like preempted. They moved to like Thursday or whatever. Or like, well, let's move it up
And a lot of
like
time
earlier in the night.
it's like a couple decent matches and like whatever matches.
Yeah. But it's like if Collision is actually almost getting like what Raw is getting, like you got big problems. Like
I
that should not happen.
I think
Dynamite shouldn't happen. Like beating it shouldn't happen as the the starter brand, like the
well, and I think it shows. I think what it shows, it's not like in my world, it's not like oh well AEW is doing so great. It's for me, it's going to Netflix was a massive mistake on their part.
yeah. I think so too. I think that obviously, people like Dave Meltzer would be like, no, it wasn't. Like they're making like
I
$1
think it
billion
was
or more
because
for this. I think it was because long term, I think it could have very, very bad ramifications on it.
and this is true across other sports though because NFL's done fine, but NFL you can't NFL doesn't count. NFL is its own animal, and they can literally do anything, and people will watch. Um,
Who? Well, I think he's oftentimes full of shit, But who was it Dana White said recently? Somebody, I think it was Dana White, because he likes to crow about UFC when it's like he lies about that shit. But he said something to effect like somebody somewhere recently said that one of these streaming providers, I don't know if it's Netflix or Amazon, whatever, paid like the NFL for like one game. They paid them some insane amount.
oh yeah, probably 50 or
It was
60
like we'll
million
pay you
dollars.
$100 million just to broadcast this game, and it wasn't like to broadcast the Super Bowl.
No, it was the
It was
Christmas
like,
Day game. Probably they probably
oh,
took like it might have been a Thanksgiving
which a
game,
lot
but
of people would watch. That'd be a big game, but insane.
yeah. But the thing is though, I bet if I bet that I'd have to look it up. I bet that game Netflix had got 80 million views though.
Maybe. I mean, it probably would get a lot of views, but is that still going to be worth like the money investment from that? Like, I don't know.
I think so because that gets you
It
because the thing is like that gets you in to negotiating for like Sunday games. And if you get Sunday games, like you are
mhm.
set. Like you're just set.
Oh yeah. Well, that's always like the endless discourse, the discussion about AEW and their contract renewal. People always want to discount, and it's like that AEW is just going to be caught like tossed to the wayside.
Yeah, it's
And
not
even
gonna
people like
happen.
Dave Meltzer constantly brings up, it's like you guys do know like Tony Khan and his father Shad Khan, like they own one of the NFL teams. Like they own an NFL franchise, one of the franchises.
Yeah.
And people act like that means nothing. And it's like, it nothing? Like one of the team owners of a very small, relatively small number of teams, like can call up the league and knows so many, everyone in the media, like can call and be like, hey, help me out. I need help.
Yeah, it's
Like
like, why do you think?
let's talk about negotiating like this
Yeah, and
little
why do you
wrestling
think?
promotion.
Why do you think the couple of times they've snapped at WWE like legally and said back off, the WWE has instantly ceased whatever they were doing, um, and knocked off the chicanery. But like, here's the thing with that though, and why I think it's stupid. Um, People don't understand that game, like because like we were talking into the Discord, and I said I think TNA will probably get re-signed for 3 years and maybe close to $20 million, and it's not even anything close to AEW as far as like viewership or cultural penetration. But like if you look at the thing on AMC, someone's like, "Well, it's only getting like 200,000 a week." Like, yeah, and what can they put there that's going to actually draw 200,000 eyeballs to their shows? Nothing. So they're going to re-sign them.
Everything was probably, I had to look at what I was getting before, but maybe half that, I would guess. So, and there's also like you're bringing eyeballs overall.
Yeah.
Like I don't know that TNA fans will be like, oh, I'll stick around to watch this like movie. Which back in the day, like AMC, like they would actually have like classic movies. Like now, a classic movie would be like, here's this '90s movie. It's like no, like that.
I don't even think
It should be much older than
Yeah.
this, but uh, you're bringing eyeballs. You're bringing eyeballs, and maybe those people, maybe there would be crossover. It's like whatever 20 millionth Walking Dead spinoff they've done. Like they'd stick around to watch that or whatever. But they probably will. I can see them getting re-signed.
I don't
know how
see why they
much.
would. I think if they're getting 10 million now, I think they're gonna up it. So I would say if I was TNA and they offered 20, I would jump on that, and I think that might be doable for them.
For 3 years.
Why wouldn't you if you're AMC? What are you gonna put there for 3 years that's gonna do?
Well, no, they would. AMC would make an offer. Like if TNA, well, they probably don't have anyone they can competently negotiate with. But I would be like, you gave us 10 million for 1 year. You can get 3 years. Like, how about 35, 40, which is like you're getting a little over 10 million a year for that. And if they want us maybe stagger it, where it's like, all right, first year, you give us like, why don't you give us 35? Like the first year you can give us like 10. Next 2 years you can break the other, 20. Well, no, 10. My math is wrong. 25. Like you can break the other one into like maybe 12 and then like 13 the next year. Like you stagger. I don't know. You can figure it out, but I would push to be like a little more than 10 million a year. That's what you're getting.
Yeah.
But you're right. Maybe AMC may play hardball and it's like, we'll give you 20, but the longevity 3 years.
Yeah.
But TNA doesn't have money. They're already like.
Yeah, but that's why when people act like AEW is gonna get canceled, is like no, like I'm sure TNA is gonna have no problem getting another deal out of AMC.
They'd probably get offered a deal. It's like,
Yeah.
who are they gonna have?
And that's why I'm
company to
saying
do
like
it.
those people are insane, because like AEW does way better and does way better demos, so they're gonna be fine. And if Turner backed off, like someone else is gonna like jump in there and be throwing money at them.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about it on the show before. People like Nick Piccolo, whatever his name is, like that agent who claimed, and people ran with it, like, oh, that AEW's already told they've been canceled. They were told like in the fall of last year, and it's like to the extent
their deal's not even
we
up.
talked. No, we talked about it on the show, but to the extent someone could have had a discussion with Tony Khan, what they could have told him, which is not a confirmation of being canceled, it's just like stating the obvious fact. Someone could have gone to them and be like, hey, Warner Brothers, this company, like, we're being sold. You're going to have to talk to the new owner when you come to negotiate that deal. Not just us because it's gonna be a new owner. They're the ones you're gonna have to talk to, which is like that's not a confirmation of being canceled
No,
or you're not gonna be re-upped.
and that
That's
could
just the definition of like if I'm the person like in charge of renegotiating and with a merger, I don't know if I'm gonna be a job. I'm gonna tell someone it's like,
yeah,
hey,
because
I don't know if it's gonna be me you're talking to next time, so be prepared for that.
if you just willy-nilly cancel an AEW programming off your TV, like that could fuck the merger up because that you just you just got rid of an asset for no reason, and Paramount
Well,
would be like, "What the fuck, guys? Like we wanted
it,
the
it's such a blatant lie and
yeah
it goes against logic and it goes against logic in the way Meltzer's talked about this, but it also like people who are rational can think about it. It's like since allegedly this happened, they've had like
big
Warner
ratings."
Brothers.
Like their ratings have
Well, they've
been
had
through the
big
roof.
ratings, but Warner Brothers has integrated more with them. Like they
Hmm.
give them more time. Like they do overruns like all the time. They after like when this allegedly happened in the fall, and it was like I think January this year or like beginning of the year, where they started offering not just on Amazon but like on HBO Max you could buy the pay-per-views. Like you don't start integrating with a company more if you're gonna bounce them. And Meltzer has brought up a very obvious point. It's like if Tony Khan knew AEW is being kicked off, like he'd maybe start downsizing the company, and that hasn't been happening.
No,
If anything, you're probably going to see
but
at least a few
if you
guys
look at
pop up in the next few weeks. You're probably going to see guys pop up because some of those 90-day deals for people who got released are going to be gone, and at least you're probably seeing the due date by the end of the
but
summer.
if I was but see where I don't think that makes sense though, because if I was Paramount, like I would be salivating at getting AEW on like my platform with the UFC.
Look, I've also beaten the drum on this one too. If I'm one of these companies, like who would I actually be more interested in? Like AEW, who even if I have to give them an increase in their rights for a
Yeah.
new 3-4 year deals, it's going to be way cheaper still than the WWE, which wants like $1 billion or more.
Yeah.
And they're not, and AEW is pulling probably close to the same numbers.
Well, and I've argued
Like
this numerous
it doesn't make
times. Like
sense.
I think if you're Paramount and you have the UFC, like I would, and I had the choice, I would rather. I think AEW pairs better with the UFC than WWE does because I think there's a better chance of cross pollination of AEW fans watching UFC because I think AEW has a more well they obviously have a more male demographic of like 20 to 40, but I think that the people they pull are more likely to watch sports, and I think especially like UFC and MMA.
And probably more real sports.
Mhm.
I look, they TKO will never admit this, but like people who are like hardcore UFC MMA people, they don't like the WWE. They think it's dumb. They think it's cartoonish, and it is. I mean, who's like the guy that they've pushed harder than anyone in the last like few weeks? It's not Obafemi, Cody. It's not even Roman. It's Danhausen. Like you telling me like a hardcore MMA fan, they're gonna be like, who's this clown? And, like he literally looks like a clown with white makeup and everything, you know, wacky skits and everything, which the WWE audience eat up. But you telling me a guy that just gets off on like two men punching each other in the face, you know, that's what they're going to be into, like hard. Oh yeah, I love it. No,
Well, it's like
and
eh,
that's they try to get more involved in like the manosphere and everything with WWE. It has not worked because people don't
their
care.
fan base isn't compatible with that because like
Yeah,
the thing is like and also like WWE like their forays into politics have been really ham-fisted and bad. But like the thing is like it won't work because because a lot of them are lapsed wrestling fans and they don't want the nonsense. Like I think the problem you have with trying to bring UFC fans over to WWE especially is like MMA gives you a lot of the elements of wrestling already. And so I don't like there isn't that same need for it.
People don't. They'll never admit that, but like, yeah, it does. Like the UFC really pulled a lot from like pro wrestling and how sometimes like the characters and how things are promoted.
Yeah.
And they'd probably be like, "Oh no, like this is just a tradition. Like look at boxing." And it's like, "Yeah, look at boxing." When you had Muhammad Ali, who was a huge wrestling fan, went out there and started cutting promos on guys, and it's like, where do you think he got that from? Because he looked at people like
Gorgeous
Gorgeous
Stewart, yeah.
George and in other people, and it's like, yeah, he decided like, you know what, I can get more people invested in my fights by going out there and basically having this like larger than life persona and trash talking, cutting promos on my opponents, and it worked. Like people either loved Muhammad Ali or they hated him, and it's like it drew people in, and he became the biggest star.
Yeah, and the thing with like, and the other thing is like, if you're a fan of UFC, like, okay, there can be like bad decisions and like the ref stoppage. We can get into like the minutia of that, but like MMA is not going to just straight up fuck you over like wrestling well.
Yeah.
Like there might be injuries and stuff, but you're not going to get like some dumb ending or the stipulation that they don't honor. Like that doesn't happen in UFC.
By the way, since we started, that's how we started talking about this. I guess on Sunday to compete with Forbidden Door, they had the NXT Great American Bash show on the CW. We actually started talking about like TNA Slammiversary, but since we went into NXT a little bit, I guess it pulled 394,000 viewers and a 0.7 in the 18 to 49 demo. So it's like it pulled less than like what Collision is doing
I wish they would.
on a Saturday.
I have no love of NXT, but like I don't know why they keep doing that because every time they do it, it just goes out there and dies and gets like no talk or viewership or anything.
I saw someone discuss on like comment on Meltzer's reporting of the ratings being like they don't do it because they do it so they can pop the NXT name and brand in like social media and that'll
It
draw
doesn't work
attention
though.
to AEW. But it's like I don't even think that works.
No, because you don't see a thing about it.
I saw nothing about it except for the fact that the main event, I think the main event was supposed to be Lola Vice versus
Yeah, and
Kendall
it
Gray.
was disappointing, is what.
That well, I'll get to that in a second. But people were noting that only because the way Meltzer was hyping it up. They're like, oh, he's even before Forbidden Door, like Friday. People were like, oh, watch, he's gonna give that a 5. He's gonna get that a 5, and whatever match Mercedes Moné has a Forbidden Door, he's gonna give that 4.25 something. And sure, the way he was talking, I think he absolutely was gonna do it. He was already set it up because he hypes Kendall Gray like nobody's business.
I don't get it. Like I think she has potential. And that was my thing when people were like the match was disappointing. I'm like, well, like, and this is gonna sound like a wishy-washy defense, but I'm like, they're not super experienced and they rehearse their matches. Like, like depending on them to have a great match is kind of a fool's errand because they're not at that point in their career. Either of them.
It,
Ibu was
he gets
taking
very
some Ibu was taking some real shit from people for saying it was disappointing, and that I don't get with it because I'm just like, it's his opinion. Like, why are you so mad at Ibu for having an opinion? You don't like people
he
get
can
so butthurt about it.
he can be a real like WWE homer in my opinion sometimes, but he is critical of them, which is
I
more than like a
I
lot of
have a
these
love
people
hate
are.
relationship because I think he's a bit of a clown, but I also think like the one thing I will always give Ibu, as much as even if he's saying something I completely disagree with, I generally feel like it is his true opinion and that
Mhm.
he's not like trolling or like engagement farming. Usually when it's Ibu, I'm like, okay, like I think that's a dumb take, but like at least it's his like honest opinion. Because he will
And if
truly go
he's
out there and say shit that like will get him in trouble. Like,
but and he's not bought and paid for. I think my criticism is like I'm very down on the WWE, so if he says very positive things about the WWE, it's because that is his opinion. And I think like, well, I think your opinion's wrong, but At least that's his like opinion. I think it's genuine. It's not like he's not going to go out there and be like, "Man, Kendall Gray versus Lil Levice,
Yeah.
awesome match of the weekend," because he's bought and paid for influencer
Yeah,
and
he's
just a WWE shill.
and that's why
Uh,
I say with him is like I have a begrudging respect because he is being like I feel like he's being honest because I do respect guys that are going out there and saying their true opinion. They're not like towing the company line and stuff.
yeah, because he can go out there and like the Mania main event, he can be like, "Oh, Roman Punk was one of the matches of the year, like 5 stars," and I could be like, "Don't know about that, Ibu," but he's a huge Punk fan,
Yeah.
and so he's gonna look at that with rose-colored glasses, and consensus from people is that it was a good match. Like I can quibble about like, was it really 5 stars, or was this like the usual like Roman main event, like with a better than average opponent in Punk? So this is really more like a 3.75 to 4 that you're hyping up. It's like they can argue about that, but that's his opinion. And I don't think I don't think he's saying, oh, he's a WWE shill, so he's saying, oh, 5 star match. Point is, like, he came out and said, like, it was a good but not great match. Kendall Gray versus Lola Vice. And I think he's probably right. I haven't seen it. I think he's probably right. And the reason why is because none of this shit is like surprising anymore. It's so like you know the script before it happens. You know that if any match on any WWE pay-per-view is good or great, that the actual shills will hype that up like the second coming of Jesus. And so if it really was great, like a 5 star classic, you would have seen people like nonstop yesterday, well, Sunday and Monday, hyping up how like, oh, this is the match of the weekend. This is so much better than any
Yeah.
of the AEW women's matches, and they didn't. You
Well,
didn't
and
see that
you know what?
online.
You know
So
what kind
that's
of
like
shocked
that's
me? You know what kind of shocked me was I kind of expected to see a lot about Sammy finally winning the belt, and I really didn't. And the few people I did see bring it up were like, "Yeah, this would have been really cool 3 years ago." I saw that sentiment a lot.
I saw a lot of people surprised by it and loving it, and people were like, oh, there were some people who were like, oh my god, Triple H, like, thank you. And it's like, all right, here we go. Like this is what Triple H in particular gets away with. It's like 3 4 months of absolutely shit booking, and then he'll throw like something out there that people will like one match result or
Hmm.
one match, like a quarter
Yeah.
that people like, and people will be like, all is forgiven, and it's like, yeah, rinse repeat. Like he'll throw like
Well,
a hand, like
now it's
four
turned
or
into
five.
now it's turned into, oh god, they're gonna put it right back on Cody, aren't they? And now everyone's like got their butts
Well,
clenched for that.
there was a rumor or something that came out like yesterday, like, oh, an inside report where they're like, oh, don't get used to the Danny like title reign, don't get comfortable with it. And it's like you already seen that, but it's like I fully expected that. You think that they're gonna have Sami Zayn with the title up until like Mania or all that? No.
And
Like if he keeps it past SummerSlam, I'll be surprised.
I think they also like a quick little reign would freshen things up for them and like kind of do away with the like people just hold the belts forever there because sometimes I do think you've got to throw a little. That was my problem with Ring of Honor is people would complain anytime they did like a short reign to like break things up and be like you're hot shotting. It's like, well, you have to hot shot sometimes or else like it gets boring if everyone's going to hold the belt for a year and a half. Sometimes you have to throw a 2 month reign in there to keep people honest. Because if everyone has it for a year and a half, no one's going to invest until you get to like month
Yeah.
14.
If you don't have any variety, then it's real easy to write people off. Just, hey, I'm not going to give a damn about world title feud for 6 or 8 months because nobody ever does that, and that's part of why I like Darby so much. Sorry about being late, y'all.
It's all right. We've been talking about Slammiversary, NXT ratings, all that.
Yeah.
Did you have multiple long-winded digressions?
No, actually.
No, not surprisingly, no.
And we
I
talked
was gonna try
about
and pull us into like talking about Supergirl.
well, and we did have it. We did the only I
Dear
think the
God.
only slight digression we talked about is that the dirty little secret is that um MMA provides like a lot of what pro wrestling does, so you're never going to really draw those fans because they're already getting mostly what pro wrestling provides, just in a different way.
I mean, that was a talking point 20 years ago. Was the statement that MMA is doing pro wrestling angles from like the 60s and 70s, except they're not doing them as angles. It's because wrestling pulled them from boxing as legitimate, legitimate problems, and so they're getting that now, right? How many people? The last UFC I watched, UFC 100. How many people wanted to see Hendo knock Bisping into another time zone? Like people were dying for that, and he did. So it was really satisfying,
And like
as
you have,
opposed to
yeah, and you have your faces and heels naturally. Like you have your storylines; they're just different. Like even like the White House card, like that was this longtime guy that came up short over and over and over again, like upset the lightweight champion and finally like won the title, like the outright title and not the interim after like repeated failures. Like that there is an element to pro wrestling to that.
yeah. And then he got paid in crypto, which is one of the carniest things I've ever heard.
I don't know if they paid them entirely in crypto. That might have been like some bonus or something.
Still, being paid in crypto is one of the carniest things I've ever heard.
That's kind of hilarious. But there was some. What was that? There was some. Oh, I can't remember what it was. There was some like they were giving sponsorships out to all these athletes and paying them in crypto, and then some of them just totally like lost it all. I don't think it was Ethereum. I think it was a shit coin.
Yeah, it's there's no telling, man. I mean, I don't trust crypto as far as I can throw a data center. So it's
Like, imagine getting paid in crypto. We'll pay you in this incredibly volatile, like currency. Like, no,
it's like
Also-
no, I want money.
Also,
Yeah.
like you're giving it to like brain damaged fighters that might be technologically inept when people can just hack their shit and steal their
Yeah,
cryptocurrency
Don't-
too.
no, paying somebody in crypto, at least in my head, is like paying them in exposure. Might there be some value to it at some point? Sure. That don't pay the rent though. So, fork over the money.
I mean, if you have a drug habit, it's probably worthwhile.
Yeah, but these people aren't using crypto to buy their drugs. They don't know how to get on the dark web.
I mean, the Diaz brothers might be really overjoyed at getting crypto. I think they're buying their shit legal though. So anyway,
Vectron, the answer to that, look, man, look at these 22 caliber guns right here, dude. How far do you think these can throw a data center? No.
they're so ugly.
On a good day, 25 ACP. There you go. There's
So-
my bad gun joke for the night.
So we can get into the matches. We were waiting on the matches so that you were here, Shad.
Oh, right. Hang on, let's do this right, Matt.
Mine isn't very good because I'm losing weight, so everything's a little weird.
I've been doing regular free weight lifts. Not a lot with my arms, but I'm just trying to get it, get my grip strength back up and get my shoulder where it doesn't hurt all the time. So it's actually a little more to it than there used to be. But anyway, the matches.
Yeah, so I talked about this earlier. So these are two, I would say, famous-ish matches from the 80s. So it's pretty much Arn Anderson going along with Mike Jackson and Ric Flair going along with George South. There's actually an article on the Mid-Atlantic Gateway about the Flair and South match, which is really interesting if you want like the backstory. I guess we'll do that first. So I guess this is the result of Flair and Dusty got into an argument, and Flair was just so Flair wasn't supposed to wrestle. He had like commitments. He didn't want to have to go on a plane with wet hair. Is pretty much, pretty much, pretty much, because it was the winter too. So it was the winter, and so he and Dusty got into it. So Dusty made him wrestle, and Flair was just like, "Well, fine, then I want South." Is pretty much what happened. And then I guess he's like, okay, like you're like tonight you're Ricky Steamboat. So he said he went out there and Flair just started calling shit. And he's like, I'm blowing up so bad because I'm not used to working like this. And he's like giving me stuff. And then he's like, holy shit, he's doing the top rope spot and the flip for me.
Yeah.
Because he was like, I about peed myself when he like started letting me do that stuff.
The thing that I think gets lost sometimes is that Ric Flair was a cardiovascular anomaly. The guy was his cardio was so good that he would work these matches for 50 minutes and then go, okay, let's kick it in gear. And people like, Brian Pillman the story is Brian Pillman coming out of the NFL conditioning at the time. And Flair was blowing up Brian Pillman for fun. Right? So his cardio. Ric Flair was not a. I'm sure that he did lift some, but he was a cardiovascular machine, just like Steve Austin was in the late 90s.
He did earlier. If you look at like early Flair is like a power guy pre-plane crash and back injury, and then like he slimmed down. But like he's a big guy. Like you don't appreciate Flair until you see him with a smaller guy, and then you're like, oh yeah, he is kind of a big dude.
Right. But his focus is cardio. Go ahead, Matt. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would really be curious to know what what workout he did to get the cardio.
I think there were some genetics in there. I think he's kind of just a freak too.
That's the thing that again, people all the time I think like discount, but it's like genetics actually. There's a genetic component to some of these like really freak athletes. Like they just have like genetic, like
Brock Lesnar.
We've talked.
Like,
yeah,
I
Brock
could do all the
Lesnar's
steroids in the world and I'm never going to... That's the thing people don't appreciate too is like... Because people are posting clips recently on Twitter, but like... What people don't understand about Brock Lesnar is he almost willed his way onto an NFL roster. Like, he was like one of the last cuts in preseason with like minimal football experience because he was just that much of a...
He's a freakish athlete.
Yeah.
His daughter's kind of... She's got...
She's setting shot put records.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a genetic component. Flair could have been like a genetic cardiovascular. I do a lot of cardio, and I feel like I'm in pretty good cardiovascular shape. But it's like he's notorious. Like I think maybe in his autobiographies, but it's other people back this up. Like he would do matches. He would do double shots. Where it would be like earlier in the afternoon or the evening, he'd do like he'd go Broadway with the dude. He'd do like a 60-minute match, and then the match would be done. It's like, all right, like hop in a car, drive like an hour and a half down the road.
Yep. Do
another match with the guy, because at that point he was either champion or like obviously a top guy.
Yeah.
And people, his earnings have been reported in various different places over the years, and if you look at him like, if you think about it like today's money, it'd be like, well, it didn't look like he's making like that much, like $5,000 for the show. Like that's pretty good, but it's also like no, it's $5,000 in like 1982 money. That'd have been like he got paid like $25,000. Yeah,
that's like a night of work
for a match. Yeah, like he made ungodly money.
I think D'Lo said he could have retired for life off of like.
Yeah.
2 or 3 years of like Flair earnings in the 80s.
D'Lo said
in bankrupt like multiple times.
Yeah. D'Lo said in a shoot interview I saw, he said if I had had 1 year in the business like Ric Flair has had, like 1 year, then I would have been able to be set for the rest of my life. So,
yeah.
The other thing that the other thing I want to point out about this cardiovascular stuff is it's not just it's not just, running on the treadmill a lot. Yes, his cardiovascular shape was genetically and it, it was exercise and that sort. It was wild. But there's a little bit more to it because number one, getting out there and doing a big match and stuff like that, you have to learn to manage your adrenaline run. Early on when I was wrestling, I'd get out there to the ring and I'd just be like so wired up. And I would have an adrenaline crash because I'd be out there and we'd be doing stuff, but then it's like, oh, okay, now I'm used to what we're doing here. And all of a sudden my I'm just blowed up. And combine that with taking all of the bumps and the grappling they're doing, and that's where every bump is forcing air out of your lungs, and all the grappling is a lot harder than in terms of cardiovascular work. So he's out there doing all of that, stacking it up, which is why it's even more impressive.
Talking a lot.
Yeah. And so he's having this match with George South, and like you said, he's calling a bunch of stuff for him. He's taking a whole bunch more bumps than he thought he had to, or that he's taking a whole bunch more bumps that he didn't have to. And of course, the story is like, you can't be out there bumping like that for George South of all people, Rick. What are you doing? And he's like, I already did it. Don't care. What are you gonna do?
Like I said, I think what it said his was like, I'm not gonna beat a guy like George South in 1 minute.
Yeah.
And it's like it's I just think it's funny, and it kind of made me respect Flair that his version of spite wasn't I'm gonna dog it. It was, you want me to wrestle? Like, I'm gonna fucking wrestle. Like,
I'm going to wrestle the match I want with the person I want.
Yep, and
I don't give a damn what you think of it.
I'm going to blow people's brains out because it's really good. Like, that's the thing. You know what I like that he was doing is he'd be like, "Look at this, JJ," and then he'd start doing stuff. And I like that, like, George gets the first kind of exchange of stuff. George gets the better of him, and he immediately starts complaining to the ref.
Yeah.
And then he does then after that, he kind of looking at him. He's like, okay, I've got to be a little more careful. I like when guys do that. Greg Valentine did that in the Buff Bagwell match we started, where he's kind of like, after that first exchange, he's kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to go in a little more cautiously here because I don't want that to happen again.
In that match, it was like Greg Valentine's like, I'm going to start bullying this rookie, Marcus Alexander Bagwell. And then Bagwell starts giving it back to him. He's like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, Bagwell took his measure a bit. Yeah, I loved early on. Flair is just, trying to do stuff and South's getting the better of him. To the point where even, Flair would do his, knife edge chop. And South would come back and just, chop and slap the hell out of, Flair is, he'd back off because, South was giving it back to him. By the way, as an aside, this is why I love JCP, and this is very at the time. This is a November 1988 match. But if you caught at the very beginning, Jim Ross and Tony, who were the commentators, Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone, who were the commentators on this, they mentioned, which was an angle at the time, Paulie Dangerously bringing in the original Midnight Express, which was who was it? Was it Randy Rhodes?
Randy Rhodes and Dennis Condrey. Because I
I
don't think we even know, but so Dennis Condrey mysteriously disappeared from JCP, and that's when they replaced him with Stan Lane, and then they were wrestling in the AWA as the Midnight Express because their debut angle is really good because shooty comments weren't a thing back then because Jim Ross's first reaction when they come out is they don't work here. And that's also the infamous one where Jim Cornette was going to blade. And then...
Oh, he did blade.
So what happened is he did it and then he wasn't bleeding. So he did it a couple more times and he started gushing. And they said he went back there.
He's wearing the white jacket.
Yeah. And Dusty was like, I said, get a little color, baby.
He said, you get a little juice, baby. A little juice. We're on TBS here.
But that's a great debut angle.
Oh man, we should. That's on one of the the JCP, NWA, WCW. What was WCW then? But I mean, NWA, like one of those. Was it on a Starcade? I watched this. There
Oh, and
in
that was
my
on
area.
TV. It was on TV when they debuted, but they had a couple of matches on. They had a
They had
match
some
at
matches. I remember.
Starcade, and then they had a match at Chi-Town
I think
Rumble.
it was one of those. I can't remember which one, but
There
it was one of
was
those.
a
Like
there was
my local video store had. They didn't have many, like WCW or NWA, like tapes, videos on demand or whatever, but they had a couple, and I remember watching that match, like the Midnights versus the original Midnights, and I was young when I watched this.
mm-hmm.
I again, when I started watching wrestling in the early '90s, I tried to consume everything that was out there,
Yeah.
which I was too young for tape trading, so my tape trading was just like I watched whatever
Yeah.
wrestling videos were at the video store in my area. And they saw that, and I remember at least intuitively like this was a good match, but I'd want to go see that again to see like how good it was.
The Chi-Town match might have had Cornette and Heyman wrestling, and they might have had to replace Condrey or Rose with Jack Victory. That vaguely rings a bell.
Yes, because so the I remember this because when Dennis Condrey passed, Flagship did a retrospective on him. Right before they were going to do that, Dusty got kicked out as Booker and replaced, and Dennis Condrey looked around and went, "Oh, here we go. Like this is dropping off for me. Hell with this. I'm not staying around if they're gonna. I'm not staying around so they can just pitch me at the bottom of the card and treat me like crap." So he just left again. So it was he got replaced with Jack Victory. And so you didn't really have a blow off to the feud. You had a sub in for it, and that's a tough pill to swallow, because it's like, and you screwed us again. This was supposed to work, and then you just pissed off again. So in any event, some interesting stuff I got out of watching this match was, as we said, Rick's going out there with George South and giving George South a lot, like the kind of stuff that he would be given to Luger or Sting or whatever, or Wyndham, or take your pick. And then in doing so, we're seeing George South being portrayed as on his level, because one spot I saw come back again and again is Flair put South in the corner and chops him, and then chops him twice, and then South comes back out, not throwing the crossbody chops, but throwing those overhands just right into him.
Yeah, it's like it's open-handed.
Yeah,
it's just like
it's open hand down strike instead of cross chops.
And you could hear that. You could hear that. Like,
well, and you saw South's chest had the bruising from the chops on it because he wasn't conditioned to it like a bunch of people were, and he takes two in the corner, and every time he just starts firing back coming out of the corner. Who does that? Like, even top guys didn't do that against Flair. But here's George South firing it back, and it's just like, we know going into this match it's a foregone conclusion match, but it's fascinating to watch. Like, well, damn, George South, here he's throwing hands. He's got Ric Flair pinned down in that hammerlock. He's got like all this stuff going, and it's really interesting. Now you can tell that Flair is calling the match, and George South is not used to working a Flair match, because there's some transition points that are a little stilted, and George South, because George just didn't hear him or understand it.
He's getting tired too,
and so he'll start heading one direction and then pivot and suddenly go the other. But it's
But I don't
So
think
with all of that in mind, it's fascinating to watch because you can, if you're careful, you can pick those things out.
I also think this is a good match to when people try to say, well, Flair just wrestled like one match or Flair really wasn't that good. It's like, well, no, watch this because like this is like it's 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 low key like a brilliant performance from Ric Flair. Like you can look at like all the high end stuff, but like this is where I always talk about Flair where people don't get it is like stuff like this. George South was obviously a very capable worker, but this is Flair
Mhm.
just taking this guy and having, which should not have been like, it should have been like a, just a whatever match. And he's like, it's probably like close to a 3-star match, and it's just Flair being Flair.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is for like the old line about how like Flair could carry a broomstick to like a, highly star rated match. It's like this is almost like the prototypical example of that. Now no no George South. George South actually was like a very capable worker, like
Yeah,
you said.
because he
So
did
he was
everything
not.
Flair. He did everything Flair wanted him to do.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and he held his end of the match, and it's even as it there's an art, and Chad, who's in the business, can talk about this. There are job guys you like dismiss. The the best workers are job guys because they have like they have a lot of work they have to do, and a lot of work is just like the person. And maybe like guys who are complete stiffs,
Mhm.
and they can make that person look like selling it like death. They're making that person like the world beater. But George South, no offense to him, but this is an example of like Flair, like just really even taking a guy who's a job guy who has no hope beating world champion Ric Flair and elevating him just with like just doing a Flair match. And this is pretty awesome. Like this is
Yeah.
a really fun match. I was like shocked when Flair went up and George South did the whole like power slam off the top rope spot that Flair loves to do.
And they broke the lights.
And then Flair did the Flair flip in the corner thing that, it's like, this isn't Sting that he's doing this with or Lex Luger. This is George South, which ironically, it's like a month later, it would be Starrcade, which actually I think that's the one I think I'm thinking of.
That's
It
the
was the
Luger
Midnights
match.
versus Midnights.
Yeah.
Well, yes, but the Flair against Luger was the main event of that, which I think wasn't that the infamous one where like they stopped the match because of
Yeah.
blood or
Yeah.
that good match otherwise, but that I think was like the match I saw when I was a kid and I loved, but that happened like a month later. But yeah, like George South, he did that like he treated like George South like Ricky Steamboat, but it's almost like he's treating him like Lex Luger, the guy you're gonna have like this big main event at Starrcade a month later at. He made him look like a champion.
Well,
I thought it's like, well, he just likes George South, which I'm sure he probably did. He probably respected him.
No, I mean that's why he wanted South though, because he respected because he worked with him a bunch. But like, what I really think like where I was really like all the stuff Flair's doing around it, like the talking and stuff was all good character work. But where I thought like it really shows what an exceptional worker he is like the fake outs he would do, where like he would start taking over and start gobbling South up a bit, and you're like, oh, okay, well this is like it, he's finally like done, and then Flair would have him start firing back on him.
Yeah.
And slowly like Flair would start giving in and like start giving him hope again. And I was like, oh, like that's so like there's so much like thought put into that, and he times it so perfectly to like get you down, and then he starts like letting you claw that hope back into it.
And that's a great example of as problematic as a person he may be. Like Flair deserves to be considered one of, if not the best of all time. Certainly in the like the top 5.
Yeah.
People who would be considered like the best of all time, because there's many different elements of that. But one of them is like he understood the psychology of it, and his timing was so perfect. And
Flair,
and also,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Flair
Go ahead.
had an innate understanding. He was able to feel the crowd and know when to do that stuff. and that's a mixture of talent and experience. Just knowing by field, hey, start coming at me.
And as an aside, like there are a lot of guys who were really good at experience at that. Again, another problematic person, but part of the reason why I think like someone like Hogan, it's like no, he was a great worker. It's like, well, how do you define great? It's like it's not just like work great in the ring.
Which
No,
he doesn't get enough credit for that. He's far better than people.
Oh, Hogan was great, a great worker, and that it's like, yeah, he could not do the same technical or in-ring stuff that Bret Hart could do.
No, but he could hit,
he was great in many other ways.
If you wanted like a good stiff fest and he was up for it, like there's some like really like stiff like Hogan matches where they're just beating the piss out of each other, and those are good.
He was better work rate than people give him credit for, but he's a great worker in there's many levels to that, and one of the is like his timing is like impeccable. What was that? I always like point to, like, we saw, was it 88 or 8 or 9? It might have been like, it was, I don't know if it was a Survivor Series match, whatever. It is the one where it's like it's the end. It's like Hogan and Boss Man, and it's like Hogan's timing on that was perfect. Like he timed everything so perfect, where it's like watching it decades later with hindsight, and having like all three of us having watched like countless hours of wrestling in our lifetimes, we see it enough that we can be like, oh, is he gonna stick? It's like you knew, like you see it. It's like the perfect time where he'll point to the crowd, or he'll do something, and it's like that was the exact moment he should have done that to get the maximum amount of reaction. He did. Everything was perfect, and that was like so much of what Hogan did, was that he would time it perfectly. Flair timed stuff perfectly, but Hogan could time it perfectly where they get the maximum crowd reaction, the crowd going like rabid. Timing is like a huge element of like being like a really good worker, or like a next level worker. And Flair had that in spades. Like you're right, he get that. And that's another example in the things that we've talked about before on the show about how like a really good to great heel, they need to take the piss. And so many guys, maybe, I don't know, when did it start? Maybe it started with like the NWO, the cool heels.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But that was
that's who I blame it on.
But people like, or maybe Triple H, where it's like, no.
Triple
It's
H
not just being dominant. And you gotta take
cosplays.
That's why he does it. It's like, oh, I'm dominant. It's like, no, you have the role of the heel is to take the piss. You gotta take the piss. You could be dominant, like 51% of the time, but 49% of the time, you make like a chump.
The problem with Triple H is he cosplays this era of wrestling, but what he doesn't understand is
at all,
especially in territory days, like the world champion only came through if you're a big area maybe 4 times a year, and your local top title had a face holding the belt a lot. So this idea of like, well, it worked in the 80s because the heel had the title all the time. It's like, yeah, but the world champion wasn't on your TV every week.
And most of those times.
No. And
like the once a quarter, like the heel champion like comes through, it's like, yeah, they'd have a match with like your big face or one of your big faces. And maybe the face would not go over.
Well, there'd be chicanery
but they would, like,
a lot
beat
of
the
times.
Shit. Yeah, they beat the shit out of their heel champion.
And
it's like, oh, he's gonna win, and then like, oh, the heel would cheat at the last minute.
Or they do the over the top rope.
Or he'd hit it like a four.
Or they do the over the top rope. Or it would usually be
some fuckery.
Yeah, it would usually be oh man, like our guy got fucked. Is pretty much like how you wanted it to go.
Exactly.
So the thing about this that I know full bore is, yes, there were some heels that were dominant, right? That's Vader. But what's the difference between Triple H and Vader? Vader was a gigantic beast of a man, and Triple H wanted to be. But you're saying the heels never won because they were better. The story was not that the heels were better. The story was that the heels weren't better, and the only way they could retain or go over was to cheat. But Triple H wouldn't do that. because he had this mixture of, oh, you know, this, and oh, also I've got to be like the Mega Destroyer badass guy. And in retrospect, the sledgehammer was the dumbest damn weapon for him to bring in and use, because he never swings it like an actual sledgehammer.
Yeah.
You know, who takes a sledgehammer and grips it by the head and then hits somebody with that? Nobody. You know, and so, yeah, no, Triple H doesn't understand it. And here's the thing. People say, oh, he's thinking about it all the time. It's like, that's okay. I will not argue that Triple H thinks about wrestling all the time. So did Vince. And the hell of it is,
Vince had a far better grasp on wrestling than.
yeah, Triple H can think about it all the time, but he doesn't understand it.
Well, I mean, like,
he doesn't.
But when people say that, that's dumb, because you can think about something a lot and like still not understand
And be wrong.
Like perfect example is James Gunn with the DCU right now. Like, my thing with that is, like, I think you could have taken just some idiot off the street and you would have said, we're going to do Supergirl as our next movie. And I think 75 to 90% of normies would be like, no, that's stupid. No one's going to go see that. And they probably put far less thought into that than James Gunn and like Warner Brothers executives. But why? But, you know, that's a perfect example of, like, just because you think about something or putting a lot of work into it doesn't mean you actually understand things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that your theory, Brad, you postulated, is probably true. Where it's like James Gunn just is doing stuff that interests him, and it's like, well, that's great, but you're running like a multi-billion-dollar like venture here, so you can't. You have to, because that was the thing that came out today. Like the news that broke today is that they want to do like a Bane Deathstroke,
you mean Bang?
Like team up. Bane Deathstroke team up movie, and it's like, no, like you've done one now I guess you've done two between this and Superman and Supergirl. I'm not even counting like Peacemaker, which I think does well in HBO Max.
The second season was a disaster. So
ratings wise, it could have been okay. I don't know. I haven't seen any of it, so I'm not hating on it. It might be quite good. I'm gonna say, like, well, it's not a disaster from what I know, but
Penguin's probably the best thing they've done as far as like a Max series, and that's.
But I don't think that the Matt Reeves Batman, which Penguin is a part of, and they're doing Batman 2 now. It's like, I don't think that's part of it.
No, it's not. They're gonna have two. They're gonna have two Batman. They're gonna have two Batmans if this doesn't get like axed. Because here's the thing. So like they're doing Superman, which Superman did okay, but it wasn't the problem with Supergirl. Well, is you don't do that until like you're deeper in, and like I don't think you do a derivative anyway. Like, but the thing was, like, Superman did well, and it didn't like lose money, but it wasn't this like smash hit that you can just like spin off of eternally like they're doing. They did
Iron Man, Captain America, Thor,
mm-hmm.
you know, a bunch of shit before it's like, oh, now we're gonna do Avengers, and then they did, I think, even like Wave 2, whatever, like sequels to all that, and Avengers like 2,
and then they did Ant-Man after
long before it's like, oh, now we're gonna do a Captain Marvel movie,
and they picked and then the other thing is, I guess the person that originally wrote the script admitted they didn't read the comic they based it on, which I wouldn't have based it on that comic either, truth be told, because it's not like a great comic. But so there's a number of problems there is with it. So like the way they advertised it, like, for the love of God, stop fucking making the heroes look like losers. People don't want that.
Don't be doing that shit. For God's sake. What kind of movie? What's the genre of these movies? What are they called?
Yeah.
They're superhero movies. They're not super losers movies. They're not point and laugh at the dickhead. They're superheroes. They want to see them do superhero stuff. So do that.
And so then, like, so Superman, like I said, Superman did okay, But like, it's not like I don't think it was like a movie you could like build a whole universe off of. But so they're doing this, then they're doing the Superman sequel. They're doing a Clayface movie, which I think will be modestly successful because it's a super low budget horror movie. So I could see that like doing okay. We'll see how Man of Tomorrow does. I think that's gonna be an early indicator. But then like you get past that stuff. They're doing like a Jimmy Olsen and Gorilla Grodd like live action show. Like why?
That well, and the news that I broke today is that they're looking for comedic actors to do the voice of Grodd, and it's like pause. Like Gorilla Grodd is actually a great villain. It can be a terrifying villain. The fact that you're like comedic actors, you're gonna make this like a comedy.
Well,
And it's like what I said to you guys off like you're doing a whole series on these two characters. It's like no. Like no one talks about it. I haven't even seen it. But Disney with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they did Werewolf by Night as like a Halloween TV special. It was, it's on Disney Plus. No one talks about it, so it's like it didn't really get penetration. But it's like that's Jimmy Olsen Grodd. It's like don't include Grodd.
And why?
But you want to do Jimmy Olsen? Just like do a TV special.
Why are you
Do
even
like
gonna?
this is a HBO Max like special edition,
Yeah.
exclusive, and do like a 60-minute like Jimmy Olsen mini movie right before like Man of Tomorrow, the Superman sequel.
And why are you just
Okay,
not?
there you go.
Why are you
It's not
just
series
not?
you should do.
Why are you also? If you have Gorilla Grodd, why are you even pretending? Why are you just calling David Ogden Stiers and being like, "Hey, we need your voice for Grodd"?
Yeah.
Isn't he dead?
I don't think so.
Look, the thing, and I'm going to give my 2 cents on this before I drag us back over to our actual topic.
He's totally dead. He died like 8 years ago.
Really? I'm shocked
Yes.
about that.
The thing is that
I
the
didn't feel like he was
Superman
that old.
movie did a great job weaving in supporting characters. Like Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner being a dick. Okay, yeah, you know what? That worked. Lois, like Rachel Brosnahan, at least for my money, is like the best live action Lois Lane.
See, I thought I actually liked Superman better than Lois Lane. I thought she was.
Oh no, I'm not comparing the. I'm saying just for the Loises, and I liked David Cornuswet for Superman, but all the supporting characters were likable and interesting, except Hawk Girl. But that's because Hawk Girl is never really all that interesting.
I don't know why
But-
I don't know why they put her in so much stuff because she's never like. She's always annoying.
Because she was in the Justice League animated stuff. So you've got Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner's interesting. Rachel Brosnahan's Lois is really interesting. I cannot say the actor's name, but Mr. Terrific was awesome. Okay, if you want to start expanding out a universe, please do it that way. Have your central character and then put interesting characters in with them so you can have those fun dynamics. Please, for the love of God, don't do spin-offs with a small part character that was in the one movie
that everyone hated.
Like I don't hate Jimmy Olsen. I don't have a problem with that at all. The fact that Jimmy Olsen's ex became a plot relevant point, I thought was kind of interesting. It's like, okay, that's a fun twist I haven't seen before. But I don't need a Jimmy Olsen movie. I like the idea of having it as a half-hour special that's a lead into the next Superman movie. Okay, that's cool.
But Jimmy Olsen should be like an animated thing. Like you do like Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen as like a cartoon, I think would work.
Yeah, the idea that you present this as I'm Jimmy Olsen, I'm Superman's pal. What does that mean? And then you go through like what Jimmy Olsen's life is like because of that.
Well, you could do it like as a whole. I would actually do it like Jimmy Olsen and just like viciously rip off Ed, and Eddie, except like Superman like fixes all of his schemes at the end. Like you could actually make that work as like something interesting.
I was just having the idea that Jimmy Olsen, being obviously Superman's pal, so he's walking down the street, and then he turns a corner, and there are these toughs who see him coming, and they turn and stop, and they go, "Are you Jimmy Olsen?" Yeah. All right, never mind, and they like walk away. So Jimmy Olsen is like nobody street level wants to mess with him, but big supervillains keep grabbing him to try and get at Superman. So there's this huge imbalance. Like I thought you could probably have some fun with that, but I don't need a whole series about Jimmy Olsen and Grodd. What's the connection?
No.
And if you're gonna do so this is I'm gonna do the non-stupid way I would have done the DCU. So you would have done Superman, then you would have done Batman, and then you would have done Wonder Woman, and then if you really wanted a team up movie for the fourth movie, then I have a great idea for you guys that might not work, but it's probably better than what you chose. A Hal Jordan and Barry Allen Flash Green Lantern team up instead of Deathstroke and Bang, who no one's gonna who for one, no one knows who Deathstroke is, and two, Bane has never been done well. Like, people know Bane is like a meme punchline from the last Dark Knight movie. Which also James Gunn infamously doesn't like any of the Dark Knight movies, which should have gotten him not hired to begin with for this.
So I like if you were gonna do it, here, let me propose a counterpoint. Do the Green Lantern Green Arrow team up, where Green Arrow's trying to get Green Lantern grounded about what's going on Earth again.
Yeah,
like you want to you could investigate that, but I'm even going to go so far as to say the reason that the Flash flopped so bad was the actor's name Ezra Klein? Is that it?
Was a walking felony.
Yeah, the walking felony Ezra Klein. I'm going to put a bunch of blame on the fact that this guy assaulted and sexually assaulted people, and it made the news. And you just
5 seconds without throwing a chair at a woman in a bar.
Yeah,
and then had some weird sex cult going on this property.
So you shelved Batgirl but pushed Flash out.
Yeah, no. As an aside, I was paying attention to that before the Flash came out, and then he actually did press for Flash, and he was normal. And I'm like, oh man, to me it was hilarious. It's like, oh wow, Warner Brothers came and they pulled a Clockwork Orange, sat you down, strapped your eyelids open, indoctrinated you to make you be normal for the 1 month or whatever it took to do press.
Hey Ezra,
movie that still bombed, but they forced you to be normal for half a second.
Ezra, are you allergic to Valium?
Yes.
So I think what happened there though is Flash was too far. Flash was pretty much almost finished, so they put it out to see if they could recoup anything off of it, which was the play there. With Batgirl, it was not far enough along where they could write it off, but I think they had done a test screening, and the test screening was so abysmal they were just let's just cut.
Okay. The story I had heard was that Batgirl was done, finished and ready to go.
Oh yeah, it was what's sad about that is that it was allegedly shot and completed, at least filmed, whether we went through post-production, I don't know. But the villain for that was Firefly, played by Brendan Fraser, and it's I would see that. I like Brendan Fraser. That seems really interesting and compelling.
Yeah, but it was from what I know, they had test screened it. And it was really bad. And I think because then people were complaining. They had Blue Beetle done, which they also couldn't get anything out of him. People were like, "Why aren't they doing any press for it?" I'm because they know they're going to lose money, so they're not putting more money. They're not throwing more money down the toilet with it.
Yeah, but
in any event, movie was actually, I want to say, Blue Beetle was shockingly mediocre. It was better than it had. It wasn't good. I'm not trying to say it was good. I'm saying it was okay. It was wow, this doesn't suck, which I thought it was going to suck.
So
I have not seen that. Allegedly, the budget was 100 to 125 million.
Yeah,
It
that's
made
crazy.
130, which it's like, first off, pause. Like, this is a character that I know Blue Beetle because I'm like a comic nerd,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he never
but
this version of him, like the Jamie Reyes version, has can't even hold a comic down, and they
yeah,
gave him a
yeah,
movie.
that's the thing. Like, you're doing it on Blue Beetle, basically Blue Beetle 2,
Yeah.
that has
3.
only been around.
Three,
Oh,
because
3. Oh,
Dan
so
Garrett, because there's Dan Garrett is the Golden Age one.
original.
Yeah, and he has
Yeah.
actually an old time radio show based on his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the Jamie Reyes version, it's like that's in the last like 20, 25 years.
Ted Cord was in it,
Like,
too.
yeah, but this is like, you should not have spent $100 million on this. Like,
Well,
it's a
they
even like the more popular, like Ted Cord may be like the most popular
he
version of
wouldn't
the
carry a
character.
movie either, but they also like
And- but that's like that's comic fans would be more like, you
Yeah.
know, they like Ted Cord. That's the more popular one. It's like, that's still,
well they
most people don't know that.
that they also they poisoned the well immediately for Reyes because they pretty much what they did at the time, and this comes from Infinite Crisis, they pretty much unceremoniously like executed Ted Cord, pissed on his ashes, and then before the body was even cold, they're like, "Hey, here's the newer, better Blue Beetle," and then they were like shocked Pikachu face when no one bought it.
If they had like the concept of the new Blue Beetle, I'm actually fine with, because they went through the trouble of Ted Cord had like the beetle amulet, but it never worked for him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. And then uh, what happens to him as part of Infinite Crisis. Okay, you know what, that made me kind of sad, because I go through that whole thing and I'm like, oh, dude, they did such a good job. They babyfaced Ted Cord so hard that I'm like, dude, I'm digging Ted Cord here, and then you get to the end of that with Maxwell Lord, and I'm like, oh, dude. And so what that sets the stakes for Infinite Crisis without Worf affecting anybody. If they had waited a little bit longer for the Scarab to move on to Jamie Reyes, I would have been fine with
Or
that.
kept Ted Cord and had Jamie in the Teen Titans before you tried like a solo title.
Sure, like that would be a good way to introduce, like, to have the Blue Beetle amulet transfer itself on. Cool, good with that. And you know what? I have said over and over again, if you're wanting to do new stuff in comics, if you're wanting to introduce any kind of demographic that you're wanting to introduce, make a new character for it. Jamie Reyes being the new Blue Beetle, okay, cool. I'm fine with that. What have we done? We've got a new character. There's a progression, that sort of stuff. The other two Earth Green Lanterns they had for a while, I like that too. They went too fast.
They poisoned the well on Simon Baz, and like they didn't stick with him very long. But it didn't feel like they were gonna. The problem I had with DC in that era, and comics still do it to that point, is they'll be like, they'll either kill someone off, or they'll like just give the suit to like a new character. Like, well, we're doing this because we want to appeal to minorities, and it's like, but what about like the 5 minority characters of this race that are well liked that you have refused to do shit with for like 2 decades?
Yeah.
Oh, we can't use those. Okay.
Yeah. Well, honestly, that's part of why I like Justice Society so much, is that they set out to have a diverse cast, but it was all intentionally carrying on the legacy of pre-existing characters. Like, Black Lightning wasn't an active hero anymore, but his daughter joins the Justice Society. Cool. I like that. And they're all treated with a measure of respect. And some of them are very young and they're growing into it, but okay, so, like, I liked that. But, you know, if Ted had gotten wounded and he's out, I mean, you know, part of the conceit is that Ted figured out what was going on but couldn't tell anybody because Maxwell Lord got a hold of him.
Or you could have done,
If he didn't die, but then in the follow-up, he is helping mentor and train Jamie Reyes up, like that probably would have gone over a lot
Well,
better.
you could have worked a situation though to keep both of them where like he gets into trouble, you don't kill him, but let's say Jamie gets involved and tried to help him, and the Scarab immediately reacts to him and turns him into like the Blue Beetle. Like you could do that, and then you could go with the mentor relationship, because they do this. They did this with Wally when they brought Barry back. They were so afraid because Wally's clearly a better character that they had to like completely sideline Wally.
Yeah.
And I hate when they do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like. Anyway,
because you can have both a lot of times.
Well, what I was going to say is I said I was going to try and do this, and then I ran off digressing as well. But back over to the other match that we had tonight.
So this is Arn Anderson versus Mike Jackson, which hilariously this match is almost 40 years old and Mike Jackson is still wrestling.
Yes. Factual. Like Mike Jackson.
I could look at his cage
I've
match.
seen
He's
him
probably
pop up a lot for,
wrestled
like-
within the last month.
Yeah, he still for a time he did stuff in like the last like few years with TNA.
He did something with
randomly.
TNA this year, I think.
But he'll pop up on like GCW like all the time. Or it did a while back.
Okay, Mike Jackson.
And Mike Jackson's awesome, by the way.
So he
Still
wrestled,
actually-
he wrestled in May. Is the last time he wrestled.
76. Action Mike Jackson. Let me see. I'm on cage match too.
He does. He wrestles pretty. I mean, he's wrestling like. He wrestled a lot in May.
Hasn't wrestled since May that I've seen.
Might have gotten
But I
hurt.
mean,
He
he
wrestled
could
a
have. But
lot
like
there.
he wrestled like a month and a half ago.
He did wrestle on Joey Janela's Spring Break in 2025.
He could just be like taking. He could
He's
have got
kind
injured.
of
He
like
could just
a.
take a break.
He's kind of like a cult hit now. Like I would say he's more popular now than he ever was, just because like I think he's showed up on enough stuff and people just I think respect that he's still doing it and he's still like kind of okay.
Mhm.
I mean, like he's not great now, but he's old. Like that's
He's 76, guys. Like
Yeah.
you'd be hard pressed to find another 76-year-old who can still like move and do some of the stuff that Mike Jackson
Yeah.
can do.
And so this is Arn's talked about this match before. I should have reviewed. And I think Arn just said like, yeah, I just decided to do this because he's a good worker and I respected him.
The thing that about this match that threw me is Arn is on the back foot for so much of it.
Mm.
And it is fascinating to watch because it's not well, I mean, it's not what you go into this match expecting, and even commentary is kind of talking like that. They're like, not usual for you to see a member of the Horsemen in a situation like this. But what happens is that he's got Mike Jackson having him on the ropes for most of the match. And the way Arn did it is it made the whole thing natural and believable. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I loved it. Oh, that spine buster was so good. Oh, because I'm seeing the end of the match go, and I'm like, are they gonna end it? How are they gonna? And then comes out of the corner, lifts him up, and I'm like, oh, here we go, wham! And I'm just like, hell yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen actually Arn win with the spine buster before. Hmm.
I've seen him win with
Yeah.
it. It's it was just really cool to all of a sudden you just seeing it happen. Then Arn's like, "Hell with this! Bam! I am done with your ass."
I like
Yeah,
Teddy Long as the ref.
he was a ref for both of them.
He was, but there was a couple of points at this match, like the mic was like really loud for some reason because you heard
Hmm.
Teddy Long. I heard Teddy Long like chastising Arn Anderson, doing something.
Yeah,
He's like, "You can't do that." And I'm like, "Oh, Teddy Long."
it's like they had a shotgun mic on it or something, which
Yeah,
I,
that was fine.
is
Like
a
really
choice.
loud.
Yeah.
This was like a Cindy show, I think. This wasn't like their studio, so like I think those were a little dicier on production.
Just an odd choice, you know.
Yeah.
But um, loved that, and through the whole thing, another thing I loved is that Arn is just he's selling that he is so frustrated that this guy's got something over on him. He's like, I should be able to beat this guy. What is going on here? And his body language is doing so much heavy lifting. It's great.
Yeah, I thought this was it's interesting how they approached it differently too.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yeah. So I did think this was I did want to do these and I thought they were an interesting little diversion. Um I'm glad we watched them because I think they are interesting, especially like I'm sure for Shad from like a worker perspective they were interesting.
So I was going to go back to something Matt said earlier that about the skills that job guys have to have. And I know I've referenced it before, but it was just something Terry Funk said to Scott Hall. Terry Funk said to Scott, "Don't be too good at putting other people over, because right now you are. And if you're that good, they're never going to have you do anything else. Because when you find a jobber who's really good at making people at a jobber who is skilled at making other people look good, I am of the opinion that you wrap that person in cloth and you take good care of them and cherish them like the treasure they are. Because how many times do we see things with jobbers who just lay down and die or roll over and quit?
No,
And no.
I knew an indie worker, and she was talking to me once about getting bookings, and she's like, "Yeah, like I get bookings real easy because like I sell really good, so like a lot of indies book me to come put talent over." So she was like, "I don't win a lot, but I get booked a lot."
Yeah. And then the question on that becomes, well, you know, what's more important for you? Like, what's the
I think at that point, cashing checks is more important than like your creative like outlet.
well? But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Because my thing is like, what if you chose the jobber route and you can get up and get regular paydays in like the big leagues and get on TV versus well if I insist on like doing something where I get pushed and win and have some creative, like I'm gonna be an indie guy. So like,
Hmm.
what do you?
How can you guarantee that you get regular work?
And I would imagine even jobbing in the big leagues probably pays better than like a month or two on the indies.
Oh yeah, of course. Okay, here we'll put it this way. What do you think the difference in life quality of life is for JD Drake as an example? Pre AEW to now.
Probably pretty good.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. It's probably pretty damn good. And so what we got is, yeah, I mean, he's a job guy, but they keep him around, and he has good matches with people.
Mhm.
Yeah,
There's
by comparison.
Sean Spears, who's probably like 15 years into being in the big leagues between two companies, and he's never really gotten like a significant push in either.
Yeah, if you I was going to say compare JD Drake to Nick Comoroto.
Mm.
Like, what's the difference there? Is they kept trying to make something of Nick Comoroto to find something to push him with, and they never did find it, and ended up releasing him. JD Drake's still employed.
Or even Aaron Solo, who wasn't
I
as good, but like kind of shifted into managing more.
it's ironic that you use both those guys because both those guys have been like I think on AEW stuff recently. Like
Recently?
Nick Comoroto. Yeah, Nick
He does
Comoroto.
ROH stuff.
Nick Comoroto is like on ROH. And I think Aaron
Oh,
Solo
I
is
thought he
popped up.
was. I thought his contract had expired.
No, well, it could have been.
He might be on
he's
a
like
per date.
performance thing.
He might be on a per date.
A pay per appearance.
Aaron Solo, I think, like he's still up on
He does a lot of
the AEW
managing.
like roster page. He's still up on the AEW roster page, so I think he's still employed in some way. And I think I saw him. Maybe it was Ring of Honor or Collision, like stuff. Like I think he's still around. But I generally I agree with you. Like JD Drake is the guy. Like he's a job guy basically. This is just as an aside, but this is like I lament the death of AEW Dark or AEW Dark Elevation. It's like those two YouTube shows probably never coming back, but they were like useful. It was mostly the top stuff, mostly, but it's like, well, there are guys in your roster. It's like they probably could use some reps, so have this like AEW YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, it got a little excessive where it was like, oh, let's have 2 hours dark. It's like you don't need that. But
there was getting up to like 3 hours for a while during COVID, where it'd just be like, oh my god, there's so much.
It got a little crazy, but it's like I don't know that, but like I do like because like you're getting guys who like probably need more experience, like reps. But you did get fun stuff like speaking of JD Drake, like he was part of the Workhorsemen, stuff. The Pretty Pete Avalon, all that.
Yeah.
But JD Drake is a great example because it's like this guy, like he's actually a really good worker. And he's more of a job guy, but like he's still doing stuff. Like he's done a ton of stuff this year for Ring of Honor. He's more Ring of Honor, and he's mostly like a job guy there, but he's still doing stuff. Like
Aaron Solo wrestled on the last ROH TV tapings. I'm seeing if Comoroto was on there.
Okay.
Wasn't the Kingdom? Did they let go of their contracts?
No, the Kingdom wrestled on.
They're on Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
They were like missing in action for a while, but they came back on Ring of Honor stuff.
I think Taven got hurt, and that's why they were missing. Let's see.
I thought they were done, but like they've been popping up.
But people. Nick Comoroto was on there too.
Okay.
Yeah, Nick Comoroto was recent.
He jobbed a hook on the last ROH TV tapings from this week, actually. Well, the thing is, like, you can't get hurt or like just take a month off in AEW without the world exploding and them, everyone being like, "Oh my god!" Like, there's drama when CM Punk can miss like 2 months of TV and no one asks a single question until someone floats some stories and makes like the media do their job.
Yeah, a little bit. But it's having someone who is good at being a job guy is really, really important. And it feels like that just doesn't get the credit that it should.
And I think it's kind of a lost art form too, because they don't do a ton of squashes anymore.
Yeah, and I will also agree that I'm not going to say the genesis, but the widespread the widespread advent of the cool heel, I absolutely put on the NWO stuff. So
I don't blame the NWO for that because the people that think like that's what the NWO was like kind of forget like some of the nuts and bolts of like they would stooge and stuff and like they would have to gang up on people. Like they miss the parts about them that like were.
it's what they turned into.
Yeah,
That's
and
yeah.
that's kind of like was the takeaway. But I will also say, in fair, Hogan like for sure like stooged a lot. But in fairness, like the guys in the NWO that you could say like, well, if they wanted to be like big leaguing, uh, it would be Hogan, Hall, and Nash. Like they're the ones who could be like, we can get away with like in a big league and
Yeah, but I don't think
not
Hall really
job.
did. Hall really
Hall
did.
didn't,
No,
but I
no,
would say that Nash did.
Nash did.
Nash
Uh,
had his bouts there where he would put guys over.
yeah. But I mean, they at least were like those three at least were like the stars that they could do that. But uh, a lot of guys in the NWO like they should have. You have to show ass. You gotta do that.
And
You gotta like.
Hogan, if you really look at
That's the main
Hogan,
rule.
Hogan Hogan didn't win a lot in the
At least
Hogan
NWO.
not
didn't wrestle
cleanly.
a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like Hogan typically, if Hogan like if Hogan wrestled, he typically lost by like DQ or count out.
Mm.
Like that
But
was
run
kind of the
in,
shtick.
yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of the shtick
Yeah.
was, or if he won, there was massive cheating. But like a lot of times, like yeah, he would just lose by DQ because he still kept the title. That was kind of like part of the deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's why Lex Luger's thing was so big at the time because he overcame
He
the
fought
end.
off the
Yeah.
run-ins, yeah.
But it just got kind of nonsensical after a while. But is there anything else we want to talk about?
I just want to, as an aside, talk about like jobbers. He's not quite a jobber, but he kind of is like a guy who's clearly benefited. And I mention this because like he's popped up on Ring of Honor all the time. He's to the point where you could say he's got to be in some sort of deal and is featured on Ring of Honor. But it's worked out well for him from AEW. But Adam Priest, a guy we talked about on the show, even like I think last week talking about him in the tag team with Tom Billington. Adam Priest is the guy.
He's got to be
who
signed to something because he wins.
he absolutely has to be signed to some sort of deal.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's a guy that had a lot of heat on the indies. Did the Action Dean stuff like in the fall that we reviewed. And that obviously he must have signed some sort of deal, and he's been popping up all the time on, I'll say, an AEW property, which is like sometimes it's on Collision. Like he just had a match recently with Roosh. Also, he's on Ring of Honor all the time, either tagging with Tom Billington or other people, and just doing fantastic. And like that's a guy. It's like he's mostly a job guy, but it's like I
think
doubt
Jay
he cares.
Lethal works with them
'cause he's-
sometimes too. I think sometimes they'll do 6-mans with like Jay Lethal.
He has some wins, and it's mostly like multi-man stuff. Like he had a match recently where it's like on Ring of Honor, it was like him and Dalton Castle and the Outrunners against people, and they won. And it's
But
like,
that's something though because like
Who did
they
he
usually
just have? He just had a singles match with somebody.
usually don't
Oh
get
God!
usually
Roosh, right? Like
No, it was Jake Doyle. He had a match with Jake Doyle.
Was it Doyle? Because come back, or was it Mark Davis?
No, it was Jake Doyle.
Oh, okay.
Because
I'm
there's
on Collision.
There's Visa shenanigans, which kept Mark Davis wasn't on Forbidden Door. Like there was a bunch of people who weren't on Forbidden Door because of visa issues. So Jake Doyle had a match with Adam Priest on Collision, and I'll be honest with you, that was a damn good match, and it was not just one-sided of Jake Doyle just beating the shit out of him.
Yeah, Adam Priest is a really, really, really
He
good
wrestled Zack
worker.
Sabre Jr. the week before too. On
See, and
Collision.
Oh yeah.
Again, like that's a guy. That's a guy who he's a good worker, and he will be employed for years.
They beat
If Tony Khan probably has this way because he does what is asked of him, and you can have him win and look great. I think that the tag team. I love the tag team with Tom Billington.
Mm-hmm.
They'll probably get just in the Ring of Honor orbit, but I mean, if Tony Khan really wants to really develop the AEW tag division beyond like, oh, let's put the belts on Cope and Cage, like you can cycle guys through, and the Priest Tom Billington tag team, it's like maybe you cycle these guys through, like they were in the mix, like they just wrestle guys on Collision leading up to a tag match, and you don't have to have it on a pay-per-view. You could be like, here's a Dynamite tag title match between whoever holds the titles, and Adam Priest, Tom Billington, build up to it. Maybe they lose.
They have as a team, they have a win over the Grizzled Young Vets and a win over the Workhorsemen.
Ooh, okay.
And then on this most recent TV taping, which probably hasn't been on TV yet, they teamed up with Eddie Kingston and Ortiz and beat Shane Taylor Promotions with Charlie Bravo, Lee Moriarty, Shane Taylor, and Sean Dean.
Mm-hmm.
I actually really like Sean Dean and Charlie Bravo. I enjoy them as a tag team. I wish they'd
Shane
use
Taylor
them.
Promotions is quietly like a really good,
Yeah, it
like
is
stable, and
They're really good. They're a really good heel unit.
Shane, this is going back like probably like almost last year, maybe longer. But do you guys? There was a match. I don't know if it was like early 2025 or even earlier.
Was it,
but it
with
was
Moxley?
Yes, Moxley
Yeah, that
versus
was
Shane
good.
Taylor. And Moxley, you can always. This is like one of those things you watch wrestling enough, you can tell things. You can tell when certain guys like certain guys, respect certain guys. Moxley had a match with Shane Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
It gave him a ton. It made Shane Taylor look like a badass. And it's like, guys don't do that. And not that Mox is like a big leaguer, but Mox doesn't give. He does not have to. It would not necessarily give a guy like what he gave Shane Taylor if he didn't like Shane Taylor. Like he wanted to like make him look good. He looked great.
I think
Shane Taylor hold his end of the bargain.
Moxley usually, I would say Moxley as a rule, even in like squashes, usually gives guys a tad more than he needs to. But like not like to the degree he did for Shane. But I do think Moxley's typically very giving when it comes to matches with guys.
I think Mox just does not like squashing people. I think Mox is the kind of guy who's like, yeah, I mean, if I just go out there and I do my moves and I win, I agree with him. That's boring.
I get the functional need for that though, especially like in old studio wrestling. Like I get like that.
Yeah, I can understand the use for it. If you're introducing somebody new, you know what? Cool, that's fine. I understand. You need a showcase. But taking an established person like Mox and having him just go out there, just go out there and do your stuff and win.
Well, the thing is, like, though, in like the studio days, which I think more people should describe it this way because it is what it was. Like when you watch studio wrestling with all the squashes, you were essentially watching an infomercial for live events.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it was. It was advertising in a television format kind of thing.
Yeah, because you were built because like the way studio wrestling would work, and I don't think it'd work now if you built a promotion primarily about that, but it was building these guys up, and up because they wanted you to pay to see like the big match or see like the heel get his like at a live show.
Mm-hmm.
And so having like your big guys lose on TV just didn't like do a lot for you. I mean, unless you're Bill Watts, then it worked. But Like it was just a different era, and like so I think if you watch old wrestling, what you want to do is think of it as an infomercial.
Right. Well, that makes a lot of sense.
But I think that's it for this week. And thank you as always for watching, everyone. This has been Matt, Shad, and Brad. We've been in 3 Corners, you've been in the 4th, and we will catch you